From the Rogers Center in downtown Toronto, the Houston Astros and the Toronto Blue Jays are set to hook it up here for the final time this year. The Stros need a win to avoid the sweep, and it's Colin McHugh who tries to keep them from knuckling under against R.A. Dickey. Hi, everybody. Alan Ashby and Jeff Blum with you. It's a beautiful day here in Toronto. The Astros, however, have lost 2 straight here, 3 straight overall. Any concerns there, Blummer?
I'm a little concerned with the offense. We know that the middle lineup has struggled throughout the course of the year, but we need these guys to start exploding late in games and win some of these ball games. It would be great.
Colin McHugh is the guy that has the assignment to get it done today. Let's talk about him. Last time out, got roughed up early, but then put it together. And overall, 6-2, nice on the season.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup with R.A. Dickey going for the Toronto Blue Jays, who the Astros offense has had success against. And Colin McHugh is a good guy to have stopping some of these mini streaks that they have. We've seen him do it earlier in the year, but I think he's going to be up to the challenge tonight. He's got a good breaking ball to go after these big right-handed hitters. You can see what he's done against the Baltimore Orioles. What he does is try and elevate that fastball up in the zone, set their eyes up there, and then go down in the zone with the breaking ball. The cutter's flattened out a little bit, been getting hit pretty hard, but I look to see him keep the Astros in this game today.
Coming up, Julia recaps Altuve's series here in Toronto. Then we'll have the first pitch right after the break.
Center for one final game. The Astros coming off a couple of tough losses, couple of tough games offensively for this Astros club. A.J. Hinch saying today that they feel like they've been punched in the mouth early in the game. They just can't get back up and get the lead. Well, they need some better at-bats today. One guy, though, a positive in this Astros lineup, Jose Altuve, who's had a nice day yesterday, but overall in this series, getting some hits off some really tough pitchers, including that first day off Aaron Sanchez, who was so good for the Blue Jays. Altuve got a hit there. And then, of course, going 3 for 4 yesterday, getting on base. The Astros just weren't able to drive him in yesterday. 1+ for Altuve, getting that average over 300, where he likes to be and where we're used to seeing him. but he is feeling good lately. He's had 10 hits in his last 12 games, so starting to roll a little bit for Altuve, who the coaching staff never worries about, but they did say one thing that they liked about him is that he never got down. There were a couple of tough at-bats for him in there somewhere, but he managed to keep going, keep grinding out at-bats, and he's back to looking the way he did earlier in this season. And for more on this lineup and Jose Altuve, I'm going to send to the guys in the booth, Blummer and Ash. Thanks a lot, Julia. Appreciate that. Jose Altuve did have that nice day yesterday. The Astros, even with 3 straight losses, are 34-23, 3.5 games in front of the Texas Rangers, who are playing really well. And the Rangers 4 games over 500. The Angels are 5.5 back, followed by Seattle and Oakland. And huge surprise there, at least for me, Blummer, that the Texas Rangers are playing that well.
Yeah, they've gotten the pitching to go. Some of that offense they've got out there. They're going to drive the ball in that ballpark, but again, I don't think anybody anticipated that, but I anticipated the AL West being a tough division to go out there and win. It's kind of flipped, I would imagine, for a lot of prognosticators to see the Astros on top, the Athletics on the bottom, but still a tough division with great pitching. But the Rangers have put it together with the pitching and offense.
Toronto Blue Jays taking the field now as we speak. The Blue Jays on the flip side are starting to play well. They've won 4 straight. They're 27-30, 4.5 games back in the American League East. The Yankees reside in the top spot. They're a game and a half in front of second place Tampa Bay. Then it's Toronto, Boston, and Baltimore. So some oddities maybe around Major League Baseball. Just over a third of the way through the Major League schedule. And the Astros trying to get this offense back together. They'll start it with George Springer today. And a look at that Astros lineup brought to you by Southwest Airlines. There is George Springer in the top spot. He'll be followed by Jose Altuve. You see the 303 mark. Evan Gattis moves up to the 3 spot in the order as he's been swinging the bat well. In the middle part of the order, it's Colby Rasmus, Chris Carter at first base, and Luis Valbuena, who's been struggling. And the bottom portion, Jonathan Villar slammed his first home run of the year in yesterday's game. Jason Castro and Jake Marnisnick.
On the mound for the Toronto Blue Jays, R.A. Dickey, the 40-year-old, going out there for the 13th time, or 12th time, I'm sorry, for the Toronto Blue Jays. He gets roughed up against the Astros. The Astros, you see 2013, 7.92 ERA, 6 home runs. Ash will be happy to know that he is the 3rd quickest in Major League Baseball, taking only 17.9 seconds in between each pitch. Last 4 years, he's thrown 200-plus innings. He's a workhorse out there. Single game highs this season, 10 hits given up to the Astros. Around the outfield, you're going to see Chris Colabello out there in left field, Kevin Pillar in center, Jose Bautista in right field. Josh Donaldson and Jose Reyes on the left, Ryan Goins and Justin Smoke on the right. Canadian Russell Martin back behind home plate working with R.A. Dickey.
And R.A. Dickey threw a complete game his last time out, 14th of his career. That came against the Angels May 21st. First complete game of the season for Dickey. And yes, I love the guys who get to work on the mound. And we'll see Dickey do it today as the first pitch, the knuckleball, finds the inside corner. It's 0-1. George Springer trying to heat that bat of his up. Dickey brings the knuckleball. And by the way, Dickey has made some recent comments about maybe shortening his stride a bit, trying to make sure he keeps the fingertips at the top of the baseball and not rolling back behind and creating some roll on the baseball.
Probably be a good time to give a scouting report on R.A. Dickey. He's got a knuckleball.
Okay, and nothing else to go with it. And
he'll throw it 90% of the time.
Yeah, and if he's throwing it for strikes, I'll bet that number goes up. I know, in catching Joe Niekro for a number of years, if he had that pitch working in the strike zone, you might not see anything but the knuckleball all day long. And now the walk. So he goes with the knuckleball on the 3-1. Springer draws the leadoff walk. Just the 13th issued by Blue Jays starters in their last 13 games. So the Blue Jays pitchers have been throwing strikes, but it starts otherwise here this afternoon. Springer aboard, speed on for Jose Altuve.
Yeah, as you were talking about it, R.A. Dickey was feeling it last start out there. 96% knuckleballs, only 4% on the fastball.
The Astros continue to lead the majors in home runs. They're tied in the American League for most stolen bases as a club. George Springer is 12 of 13 as he stands down at first base. The Astros have stolen 46, caught 14 times on the year.
I would imagine R.A. Dickey's a good guy to run on just because it's so tough on the catcher.
It's really hard as a catcher to come firing out on a knuckleball. You have to wait till the last instant catching it, and it slows you down right in that, coming out of the blocks, if you will. This guy, Russell Martin, can really throw from behind the plate. He's been outstanding. Altuve shows bunt and takes a strike. It's a ball and a strike. Altuve's hit safely in his last 3 games. Here in this series, 4 for 8 with an RBI. Dickey has some focus clearly on George Springer. The Astros would love to strike early. They have been falling behind these Blue Jays. And the Jays do have a very good offense. Their pitching is starting to come around. They're a team that, as they get Jose Reyes back in there and a healthy Jose Bautista today, by the way, Edwin Encarnacion is out. He had to come out of yesterday's game, but with him back in with the other guys, very potent offensive club. 1-2 on Jose. And again, that throw over. The Astros are last in the American League with a .236 batting average.
Well, if George wasn't awake, he's awake now. All muddied up and ready to go.
There he goes. Pitch outside. The throw down by Martin is a good one, and they got him. And George Springer looks like he feels like he might have beaten it, but Russell Martin can really bring it from behind the plate.
Pretty impressive on the release. Was the knuckleball. Might have gotten helped out by picking it off the ground like that. Great throw.
20th caught stealing by the Toronto Blue Jays this year. That's 3rd best in the major leagues. Altuve swings through it. He's down on strikes. So the leadoff walk has blossomed into nothing now. 2 outs, bases empty for Evan Gattis.
Pitch looked like it hit a speed bump on the way there and then flattened out. Sometimes you look for the nasty knuckleball and you don't get it and get fooled that way.
Evan Gattis, the DH, hitting .235, 12 home runs, taps one slowly on the left side. Donaldson with the play, and a 1-2-3 as it turns out, first inning with the walk and a caught stealing. Half an inning has been played, scoreless game here in Toronto. To be the world's tallest freestanding building. No longer the case. I believe it's Dubai that has the tallest building now. But again, a gorgeous day. Back-to-back days like this in Toronto. The roof open. And for the Toronto Blue Jays here in the first inning, John Gibbons lines them up with Jose Reyes in the top spot, followed by Josh Donaldson and Jose Bautista. Middle three, Chris Colabello, Diano Navarro, and Russell Martin. And the bottom three, Justin Smoke, Kevin Pillar, and Ryan Goins.
For your Astros, Colin McHugh making his third appearance against Toronto. First time north of the border here at the Rogers Center. He's actually got decent numbers in his career, 1-0 with a 2.03 against these Blue Jays.
First pitch from Colin in the strike zone. Jose Reyes hitting .340 over his last 11 games, a home run, 8 RBIs, 4 stolen bases mixed in. He was a running machine yesterday, and all of that since coming back from the DL. Well, the Blue Jays a much better ball club when they've got a healthy Jose Reyes in the top spot. Chops one over the mound. VR on the move and makes the play, out number 1.
Nice play by Johnny V. Let's see who's out there with them behind Colin McHugh. Out in the outfield, Colby Rasmus will pick up for Preston Tucker in left field. Jake Marnisnick back in center. George Springer in right field. The killer V's on the left side. Valbuena, VR, Altuve, and Chris Carter on the right. Jason Castro, the Astro, doing the catching with Colin McHugh.
Colin McHugh obviously trying to avoid a big inning against him early in the game. Tossed a season high 111 pitches last time out as Donaldson fouls one back. But he did manage, as we talked about, to go 7 innings in that last start. And it looked early on like he might not get deep at all. Facing this tough lineup, Josh Donaldson hitting .306, 15 bombs, 40 RBIs. He's among the leaders in numerous categories.
MC Hammer right off the table. Can't touch this.
Not even close. The 40 RBIs lead the Toronto Blue Jays. 15 home runs also in the top spot.
94.
So you've got a healthy and strong Colin McHugh on the hill today.
He's loving the exchange rate up here.
Curveball is chopped foul.
Good pitch. See him throw that elevated fastball. Come back with the breaking ball down in the zone. Try and change the hitter's eye level. Colin impresses me as one of those guys that kind of adjusts on the fly. He may have a game plan going into the game, but depending on how he's feeling with his pitches, can kind of adjust from there.
That little cutter. 2-2 the count. Last year, when he would lose the fastball, the ability to throw it for a strike, he would turn to either the cutter or the slider, and he seems to feel more comfortable throwing a strike with those pitches at times. But that four-seamer at 90 to 94 miles an hour, as we've seen today, can be a very effective pitch for Colin.
There's got to be a little bit of deception with Colin, too, because at 91 miles an hour, a good hitter like Donaldson, I know it's a 2-strike count and he's defending, but still in that top part of the strike zone, he can beat some guys.
Fastball on the hands, hit in the air to right field. Toward the line comes Springer to make the play. That's 2 outs in the first. And that'll bring up Jose Bautista, who's hit in 10 straight. George Springer has been an active participant already today, as you may get a chance to see the front of the uni.
Well, that tells you if you're playing on an artificial surface, that tells you you've been on base. It's the only way you can get dirty.
Which is a good thing until you get caught stealing. But it took a perfect throw by Russell Martin to get him. Jose Bautista has been starting to heat it up. Hitting .250, 9 homers on the year. Driving in 34. One of the true free swingers in Major League Baseball. Has a couple of home run crowns that he's picked up. See that move right there? All hitters would love to be able to take the off-speed pitch with that front shoulder tucked back toward the plate.
Now Joey Bats has figured it out. I mean, he's got the power and the discipline. It's a unique package.
Breaking ball hit in the air, center field and deep. Back at the wall. This one is out of here. And there is that power. 10 on the year for Jose Bautista. The Blue Jays jump on top 1-0 here in the first.
I believe that was a slider from Colin McHugh. And that pitch for him has been getting crushed of late. The average against it is 341. Let's see if it flattens out a little bit. You can see that cement mixer hanging up out over the plate. And you leave that for a guy like Bautista, he's going to get extended and ram that thing into the center field bleachers. Whoa, great effort.
10 dingers, 35 RBIs now for Bautista, and he has an 11-game hitting streak. Chris Colabello at the plate. He's been even hotter. He's hit in 16 straight. Well, you go take the hill against the Blue Jays right now, and it is not a simple assignment.
You just can't get away with any mistakes. They're hitting them all.
Curveball hits slowly to short. VR charges and makes the play on the run, but what a play by Carter as he clanked it with the glove and somehow kept his foot on the base while barehanding. So there's your casual 6-3 to end the inning. And are they going to review this one? We'll have to wait a moment to see. Looked like that foot may have stayed on the bag.
I think it stayed on there, but I thought that maybe the scorekeeper here in Toronto was debating on whether or not to give VR the error on that.
Yeah, that's going to do it. So 1-0 Blue Jays. Book your low fare right now at southwest.com. And by Jack in the Box. Try the new Double Jack today only at Jack in the Box. It's 1-0 Toronto after an inning of play. Jose Bautista has launched one. Here was that final play. Take a look at this one.
VR on the run. That's just a straight handcuff job against Chris Carter. Sometimes there's some late movement on those throws from infielders. But thankfully, he got the handcuffs off in time to snag that one for the out.
You know, that's not an easy adjustment by Carter. You might say, well, catch the ball to begin with. Sometimes mistakes are made, but he did a nice job recovering.
Thank goodness.
R.A. Dickey works it here in the second inning. Struck out a man. That was Altuve in the first. And there's the strike taken by the cleanup man today, Colby Rasmus.
That was an aggressive take by Colby.
Yes, it was. And now a 1-2 count. Colby Rasmus back in front of the fans that he played for here for a few years. Hit a lot of home runs as a member of the Toronto Blue Jays. 2-2 the count. Rasmus will be followed by Chris Carter and Luis Valbuena here in the second. Dickey brings the knuckle piece. Little fly ball left field.
Oh my.
Colabello turned that into a circus act. And now, well, it is over now. A double. And Colabello has had a tough go in left field.
Yeah, we've got a great vantage point up here at the Rogers Center. We could, at least I think I could see immediately how that route was getting destroyed. Colby, been seeing him try and go the other way this whole series, but Colabello started a couple steps back and then made a high arcing route to that ball. He eventually turned it into a double.
Well, Colabello's been swinging a very hot bat, but that's the reason he's in the lineup, and the only reason. And there's been a lot of talk here in Toronto about some poor corner outfield play when Jose Bautista was not playing in the outfield.
Yeah, you can't say that about Jose. But it's interesting to see Deoner is Navarro, the backup catcher, is the DH against Colin McHugh, where you may have been able to slot Colabello in there with Encarnacion out of this game after getting a cortisone shot in that left shoulder.
0-2 the count on Carter. Gets a piece and fouls it off. For Carter, the batting average right at 200. He's got 10 bombs on the year and 29 ribbies. On the ground is shortstop and the out at first.
I got you, Ash. Hang in there.
Oh, man.
That was a good read by Colby, actually, because that ball was chopped. Carter didn't hit it all that well. You can see this coming off that front edge of the plate. Kind of created that high hop. Colby made a good decision. Reyes thought about it, but opted for the out. Smart move. But nonetheless, the runner moves up to third base. Getting Luis Valbuena in the box.
So that potential tying run 90 feet away. Valbuena taps it foul. Infield drawn in for the Blue Jays. Maybe an indication that John Gibbons feels it could be a low-scoring tight ball game today.
I was thinking the same thing, seeing the infield in right now.
0-2 the count.
Or maybe he feels that the Astros will be unable to make a good solid contact against R.A. Dickey's knuckleball.
Yeah, that could be a part of it. You anticipate a lot of slow tappers with the knuckleball. Nice job by Russell Martin.
He's in a tough spot right now. Runner at third. Knuckleballer on the mound. Try and smother it, keep it from going past him. Valbuena probably looking for a ball he can elevate into the outfield.
Russell Martin had to elevate a bit himself to be able to haul that one in. 2-2 the count. Jonathan VR waits on deck.
I think that's the most interesting thing about R.A. Dickey. He's not your typical knuckleballer that just tosses it in there about 70, 75 miles an hour. He's got a slow one and a firm one, upwards of almost 80 miles an hour.
And this one gets on by Martin, and that'll be the first run of the game, and close at the plate as Martin got back quickly and able to get the ball that caromed off the backstop. But scoring on the play on the wild pitch is Colby Rasmus. It's a 1-1 tie here in the second.
We just saw the pitch before go up almost over his head, and this one darts down. Not a deep backstop here.
High pop on the left side, foul territory. Donaldson battling with the sun and makes the catch. Take a look at that wild pitch one more time and the play that followed.
See the reaction by Colby. It's kind of a tough read when it kicks towards that dugout. Interesting he didn't go in there with the slide.
You better be safe if you stand on that play. Just thinking on this pop fly with Donaldson going forward after Donaldson having played with the Oakland A's in that foul territory. I imagine anything seems easy after the previous experience.
And with modern ballparks, this place is actually relatively deep in foul territory, but I'm sure he welcomes the shorter jog.
PR from that right side of the plate. You may notice the switch hitter stays right-handed against the righty knuckleball. 0-2 the count.
I tried hitting both sides of the knuckleball, and I couldn't hit either of them.
Half swing. The appeal, palms down. Umpires for today's game: Sam Holbrook behind the plate at first, James Hoy, John Hirschbeck at second, and Bill Welke down at third. And strike three called. So VR gets caught looking. 2 strikeouts for R.A. Dickey. The Astros get a run on a wild pitch and tie it at 1.
Ball game with our family-friendly activities at every Sunday home game presented by Kroger. The next Sunday home game of the season is Sunday, June 14th, when the Astros take on the Mariners. For more info, visit astros.com/Sundays or call 1-877-9-ASTROS. Guys, you were talking about Colin's last outing and all 4 runs that he gave up happened in that second inning. He said that Strami came out towards the end of that inning and just said, you got to start over from here. And that's exactly what he did. He said that he had, in between innings, he had a choice. Either be upset that he gave up all those runs or know that your team's going to come from behind just like they have before. So he said my only choice there was to fight back, and the team pulled through for him that day. We'll see what happens today, guys.
Takes a man to be able to do it too. It's a very easy thing to sit back and sulk and feel bad for yourself, but Colin really did a great job in coming back and picking up the W in that game. Deano Navarro, the DH, leads it off, hitting .270, has a ball and a strike on him. He has been on the DL this year for the Blue Jays. One for 3 in yesterday's game for Navarro. And that fastball runs away on Colin a bit. 3-1 the count. Always want to get that first hitter each inning. Russell Martin and Justin Smoke will follow here in the second inning for Toronto. Right on the hands, that cutter induces the pop-up. Altuve paddles and finally makes the play. Not an easy son.
He wasn't going to move for anything either. We saw Jose Bautista with the experience here at Rogers Center staring straight up into that sun. But we saw Bautista move a little bit. Watch Altuve doesn't use the glove, uses his bare hand and just hangs in there.
Brings up Russell Martin. who has already made a heck of a throw to nab George Springer trying to steal a bag in the first inning. One of the game's really good backstops, hitting .262. 7 dingers on his year. And that fastball is running to that arm side early on in the ball game for Colin. Some of the talk about Colin McHugh is that the need for him on the fastball is to make sure he keeps those 2 fingers right centered behind the baseball, and has a tendency of getting off center and having that fastball run on him. Finds the outside edge. It's 3-1. We've talked in the series about the Toronto Blue Jays and what a fine offense they throw out on the field. They're 3rd in the league in batting average at .265. 1st in slugging, 1st in OPS. Curveball on the 3-1.
Catching the top part of that zone, I think. And it does. Not the best hammer in the world, but when you're looking for a fastball and you get that, it's tough.
Comes back with a hammer, but that one gets drilled into center field.
If you're going to double up on pitches in the big leagues, you got to be extra good with it. But in the 3-2 count, probably just trying to throw that get me over, and Russell Martin does a good job of keeping his hands back.
Last year versus this year for Colin McHugh. Obviously the strikeouts up considerably a year ago.
Just tells me the league is adapting a little bit to what Colin McHugh offers. Still got strikeout stuff.
Or might Colin tell you that he's felt like his stuff has slipped a bit and he wants to get back to the stuff? I wonder. And batting average very different from last year to this. But you're right, the scouting reports are always there, and there's always something new talked about with a pitcher. Justin Smoak at the plate. Came in late yesterday as Edwin Encarnacion hurt himself. His shoulder that Jeff was talking about required a quarter zone shot overnight. And Smoak had a big at bat late in the game, doubling in a pair of runs. Ball and a strike. Martin, one of those rare catchers that will run. And now 2-1 the count. So struggles with command here in the inning. So I gave you some of the other numbers, the batting average and the OPS, number 1 in the American League for these Toronto Blue Jays. They're 1st in runs scored in the big leagues. They're 1st in doubles, 3rd in home runs. Do a lot of things well offensively. 2-2 the count.
Should have brought the fishnet. Had a chance of catching that one.
John Gibbons has been under fire a little bit lately here in Toronto. Talented ball club, but it's tough for a manager when he doesn't have all the pieces together to be able to play. They're starting to come together for the Blue Jays. And I, for one, wouldn't be surprised if the Blue Jays make some noise in the American League East this year. The Yankees and Rays in front of them, Boston Red Sox and Baltimore on the bottom. That division could go any direction.
Much like the AL West, they're just going to keep beating on each other. If you catch them at the right time, you can beat up on them a little bit.
Martin goes. The pitch is hit in the air, fairly deep to right center field. Marnisnick will make the call. And now fire back to first base. Martin will head back to the bag safely. 2 down in the second inning. And it brings up the 8-hitter Kevin Pillar. And there's your American League East. And you can see, and again, for me, the Yankees are a surprise. So are the Rays. I mean, I just would not. I would have turned that division probably around the other direction more likely. But I could see that going round and round.
Red Sox are still hanging in there. Everybody was bashing them early on in the season with their pitching being as bad as it was, but they're still in the mix.
You know, you were the one early last year who picked the Baltimore Orioles to win the East, and
I loved them.
You wound up being right. Who would you pick this year?
I'm not entirely sure. I wanted to pick them again, but I thought losing Nelson Cruz in that lineup would be devastating for them, but they've still managed to hang on and play good baseball. They're going to pitch well, and they're going to play good defense, so that's going to keep them in most ball games and allow their thumpers to go out there and drive in some runs.
Well, Nelson Cruz hit 40 bombs to lead the league last year, and that's a lot to lose. 2-0 the count. Kevin Pillar has hit safely in 4 straight, hitting .244 on the year. Yeah, it's not super sharp right now for Colin McHugh.
Yeah, you don't want to fall behind and get in hitters counts against this team.
Good swing by Pillar. He fouls it back. Blue Jays struck with a 2-out solo home run in the first inning by Jose Bautista, his 10th on the year. The Astros got a run in the second inning. Colby Rasmus got a gift wrap double as he hit a fly ball to left field, and Chris Colabello just got on the wrong feeder road, I think, going after that ball.
Yeah, that off ramp was closed.
And eventually Rasmus scoring on a wild pitch. So one of those really tough runs if you're looking at it from R.A. Dickey's perspective.
I wonder if there's, not with 2 outs, but I mean, these would be a good hit and run matchup right here with Martin at first base, Pillar at home plate, 2-1 count. Colin looking to throw a strike.
Colin finds the inside corner. It's 2-2.
It's a good thing PR got out of the way so the umpire could call this.
Do you love the guys that jackknife and are falling down on pitches that are right there at the inside edge?
Oh gosh.
Martin does not go, and down on strikes Pillar. So Colin McHugh gets the punch out, his first on the afternoon. It's a 1-1 tie after 2 innings of play.
Time for the Geico quote of the day. Every hitter likes fastballs just like everybody likes ice cream, but you don't like it when someone's stuffing it into you by the gallon. That's what it feels like when Nolan Ryan's throwing balls by you. That was Reggie Jackson. He was drafted 2nd overall on this date back in 1966. He's got a good point.
I remember once taking, for me, a pretty good swing against Nolan Ryan early on in my career and fouling one back, and felt kind of frisky until the next pitch came a little bit close. And I got the message very quickly.
How dare you swing that hard off me.
Be careful about how you decide to take your hack. Jason Castro leads off here in the third inning. Knuckleball called a strike. It's 1-1. Well, those were the days when things were a lot different too, and I liked it better then. Without all the warnings. I don't know. I don't like to see guys get hit and hurt.
Well, I think there was more of an understanding of how the game was to be played.
Yeah.
There were egos, but those egos were kept in check throughout the league, as opposed to now. There's a little more showmanship.
Castro swings through the knuckler. Down on strikes. Third strikeout for Dickey. And he's got that thing working in the strike zone today. That could be tough. One out for Jake Marnisnick.
Almost looks as if he has an idea of where he wants to spot it. You can tell by that cluster.
Tell you what I really liked better was that pitchers could control what was going on between two teams in that game instead of 2 months later down the road when the umpires may not be aware of everything going on and warnings hadn't been put out there.
Yeah, all it does is delay the inevitable. Baseball players have extremely long memories.
Pretty good looking knuckleball right there. 2-0 the count on Jake. Playing time has diminished recently for Jake Marnisnick. The batting average has slipped, and that's a big part of the reason. .257 the batting average. And now 3-0 the count. Might we see the first straight pitch? I hate to call it fastball from R.A. Dickey.
Wow, doesn't qualify?
Not sure. There it is. 80 miles an hour. Is that a fastball? Anything over 79 is a fastball?
That's a fastball in batting practice.
Yeah, it is.
But I wouldn't call 80 slow when you've faced 75 all day long.
Jake has just taken an 80 mile an hour and an 81 mile an hour fastball for strikes.
So when you go back and look on video and go, why didn't I swing? That's why.
High fly ball deep left field. This is back at the track. The wall. See ya. Jake Marnisnick has the answer. And the Astros take the lead on the first long ball of the day for Houston. Jake Marnisnick has his fourth of the year. 2-1 Houston.
I think he set everybody in this ballpark up for that one. We talked about it. 3-0, 3-1 fastballs right down the middle at good batting practice speed, but he was waiting on that downer of a knuckleball. See that thing dancing right into the barrel of Jake Marnisnick. Big kid. Bring the hands in and gets extended. This will be a good look at it right here.
A little bit of this will help get you back in the lineup as often as can be. 4 dingers, 17 RBIs now for Jake. George Springer stands in with 1 out. Springer drew a walk and then was caught stealing in the first inning.
I'll tell you what, when a knuckleball gets hit out of the ballpark, it almost looks like a slow pitch softball game.
Yeah, it can look that way.
You know, it's too bad because that ball is actually dancing pretty good. But just the visual of it on TV makes it look like just lobbing it in there.
R.A. Dickey has been known to give up a long ball or two. George Springer rakes one into left field. Solid base hit.
Well, that's the 13th home run given up by R.A. Dickey this year.
I was going to say, it's the 74th he's given up since joining the Toronto Blue Jays last year.
Oof.
Oh, wait, that figure may be a notch off. Let's try that again. That is the, yeah, let's try it. It was 2 years, it was 3 seasons ago, 2013, when Dickey joined Toronto. He allowed 35 home runs that year, 26 a year ago, and now 13 this season. And I wonder how many of those have come on the knuckleball. Two balls and a strike on Altuve. Strikeout victim in the first inning.
What kind of mentality do you have to have as a knuckleball pitcher? Because as soon as you release it, you're at the will of whatever that ball is going to do.
And yet, and some of the guys, I caught Joe Niekro for a long time. Phil Niekro was in the game. They would tell you they knew how to try to make the ball go left or right. And I'm not exactly sure how they did that. You hear as the ground ball goes to short, they'll get one at second, try to get the double play. That throw off line and the tag attempt by Smoke comes up shy. So it's a fielder's choice. Altuve reaches 6-4 on the fielder's choice erasing Springer. 2 down for Evan Gattis. But Steve Sparks will talk about sometimes trying to throw one that sails and stays up. And so I don't know how they do it, but
well, I think they more or less throw it in the hopes of getting it to sail or getting it to go inside outside.
That was kind of my mentality swinging at it, was just the hopes of maybe making contact.
I didn't enjoy facing any knuckleballers.
Actually, I didn't mind facing it nearly as much as trying to catch it.
Well, that's I mean, how about, do you ever have to catch one and face one in the same game? That'd be a long day.
Joe and Phil Niekro, I believe, squared up one time.
Wow.
You know, when you're hitting against the knuckleball, a lot of times people aren't expecting you to hit it. So it's okay when you swing and miss. When you're catching, there's a different expectation.
Just to knock it down or to actually catch it?
Well, keep it nearby, I guess, was my key. 2-0 the count on Gattis. Evan grounded out to third base in the first inning. Just the third inning, 2-1 Houston. George, make that Jake Marnisnick has gone deep, his 4th of the year. Jose Bautista has launched one for the Blue Jays. Pretty good swing right there.
Really got to let the ball travel and be quick off knuckleballers. It's a tough theory to execute, though.
By the way, that home run by Marnisnick snapped an 0 for 11, so that was big for Jake, rather. Ground ball to short. They'll get the force at second. That'll do it for Houston in the third inning, but they get the run on the Marnisnick bomb and lead over the Blue Jays 2-1.
The Astros at Minute Maid Park this Friday, June 12th, as they take on the Mariners. 10,000 fans will receive a gym bag presented by Houston Methodist. For more information, visit Astros.com or call 1-877-9-ASTROS. Guys.
Thanks a lot, Julia. 2-1 Astros on top. Jake Marnisnick and Jose Bautista have flexed here already this afternoon. Coming up for the Blue Jays here in the third inning, 9-1-2. Ryan Goins leads it off. Colin McHugh has struck out one. Drawn in on the third base side, Valbuena, and Carter also shallowed up on the first base side. McHugh gets in front, 0-1 the count. Right on the hands, popped up. It's Jose Altuve, and he will battle once again and win that battle. Looked like Chris Carter immediately said, "Not my ball."
At least he's honest. He wanted no part of that, didn't he? It's nice to have a second baseman or a shortstop that'll come over there and bail out the corner infielders sometimes. But I don't know who Altuve's waving at.
Yeah, whoever it was, he was helped out and made the play. Jose Reyes now, the leadoff man, stands in. Reyes 0 for 1 on the day, hitting .288. He has homered in the series, that in game 1. And of course the Blue Jays have taken the first 2 games after the Astros swept Toronto 4 games back in early May. That of course in Houston. Little soft looper dropping in right center, and it does drop just out of the reach of a hustling Jose Altuve.
That was a heck of an effort.
Yes, it was.
I want to see how close he got to that. That was great. I thought he had no shot.
Had Altuve made this play, it might have been one of the best you'll see.
That was actually a pretty good changeup from Colin McHugh. That ball hit off the end of the bat. Wow. Little fella almost got it. Isn't that a Houston Rockets move right there?
Yeah, I've seen the Blue Jays do it at least a couple of times here in the series. With 1 out, a man aboard, Josh Donaldson stands in. Guys are going to have to start patenting those. What do you call that? Is that a move, a mannerism? What is that?
It's a long distance high five skit gesture.
I gotcha. It's going to have to be a term for that that's in the dictionary come next year, right?
It'll be in that urban one.
Mm-hmm. One ball, no strikes.
You got to
Donaldson.
celebrate everything positive on the field, Ash.
Well, you do.
I just crushed the ball 110 feet for a knock.
Broke my
I'm gonna
bat in the
stir it
process.
up.
Reyes certainly a threat to run and driven back to the bag. Pretty nice crowd on hand here this afternoon. Shirt sleeve crowd here in early June in Toronto. Colin misses badly up and away. 2 balls, no strikes.
Is it finally summer up here? Roof's open, sun's out.
I think so.
Guns
yeah.
are out. Show them off. Great day for it.
Blue Jays were just in Washington, D.C., and there were apparently some cold days there that they faced. Donaldson takes the strike. It's 2-1. And Donaldson questions the call.
I think he's questioning his decision. It was a 2-0 fastball. He's probably turning around and asking Castro, was that exactly right down the middle? Sometimes you get locked up.
Still employing that take first strategy with the Oakland A's. Line drive to center field. Guys seem to have their reasoning here this afternoon. Back-to-back hits by Reyes and Donaldson as the Blue Jays try to mount something. 1 out for Jose Bautista. Tough spot for Colin McHugh.
Well, 2-1, and Colin McHugh gave him another good pitch to hit. I think he was trying to work that little cut piece on the outside corner and flattened out again over the middle of the plate.
Jose Bautista slammed his 10th home run of the year in the first inning. out to left center field, and it was a pretty good bomb. He's hit 2 home runs here in the series. Some of the game's best power right here. Well, yeah, the fans are booing at a pitch that I'm wondering if that might have hit close to the strike box.
Oh,
yeah, it's could have been called a strike.
Corner, yeah, but I mean, in Bautista's defense, that's a breaking ball, and he wasn't sure if that was actually going to come back in the zone. Sometimes you got to dress it up for the home fans.
That was superbly dressed. Cleanup man Chris Colabello waits in the on-deck circle. That's kind of an intriguing figure right there. Only 3 double plays with Bautista at the plate this year. 35 chances for him. Snap throw to second base. The Astros starting to use this move here in the series. Jose Altuve has been the man.
The only guy they've tried to pick off is that man right there, Jose Reyes.
He's such a threat to run, and third base is a big part of what he likes to try to nab. One ball, 1 strike, 1 out. Reyes edging. Here's the big hack.
It was a well-located fastball.
54 home runs in 2010, 43 the following year, both leading his league. Curveball grounded left side, could be 2. VR, Altuve, and on to Carter, and they get the first double play of the afternoon. 6-4-3, that'll do it for the Blue Jays. 2 hits and they leave a man. 2-1 Astros lead after 3. See the Blue Jays jerseys out in force here this afternoon. It's a young crowd they have in Toronto. It's nice to see.
Very well represented.
R.A. Dickey set to work it. The Astros have picked up 3 hits against him and won a 3-2 pitch taken out by Jake Marnisnick. Colby Rasmus hit what looked like routine fly ball to left field in the second inning, and after a circuitous route by Chris Colabello, it dropped for a double. Number 11 on the season for Colby. Shift on, 3 infielders on the right side. Josh Donaldson, the only member of the infield on the left side, and been doing some dancing around as if he's going to try to trick Colby Rasmus. Starts in one spot and then starts to move. Fly ball to left field. Let's watch it. Colabello chasing and makes the play in fair territory. And that did not look routine.
Just catch it. That's all R.A. Dickey wants him to do. Didn't exactly hit him in the pocket, but ended up in the right spot.
Yeah, that kind of looked like one of those last instant adjustments. Out number 1 in the 4th inning. Chris Carter stands in. Carter grounded to shortstop, his first at bat. Ten dingers for Chris. At batting average with an 0 for 1 day has dipped under the 200 mark. He's at 199. Guys just hate to look at the scoreboard when they're not happy with the numbers that go up there.
In this day and age, there are numbers everywhere.
They're staring at you, and the fans all see them. They should insert smiling and not smiling faces for hitters, depending on how the numbers stack up.
Oh, I like it. Give them an emoji.
Yeah.
Judging on their happiness. That is the only thing you're ever going to see from Chris Carter right there. That was a smile.
He is one of the most pleasant, even-keeled guys you'll run into.
Yeah, he is. He's great.
Has a 3-2 count and takes ball 4. You can kind of see the thinking of R.A. Dickey there. He wasn't going to concede and throw that straight thing in there. So a 1-out walk, second walk issued by Dickey. That'll bring up Luis Valbuena. He popped to third in foul territory in the 2nd inning. Now 0 for his last 12. And that batting average at 187. Been so productive with the long ball.
Be nice to see him pop one with somebody on base. 12 bombs, 21 RBIs.
They appealed down to third base. He did not go through. Valbuena and Evan Gattis tied with 12 home runs to lead the club. Chris Carter has 10. And those are not huge numbers based on what you're seeing around the major leagues right now. And yet the Astros lead in home runs with 78 now with the home run by Marnisnick. The Astros come in having lost 3 straight. The Toronto Blue Jays have won 4 straight. Valbuena did not get a piece, but just barely getting a piece, or apparently, yes, it is a strikeout because you've got the runner at first base to begin with. So first base was occupied, so it'll be a pass ball, no doubt, on the strikeout, enabling Carter to move into second base. But there is no need to record that out at first base when a runner occupies the bag at the start of the pitch. Strikeout number 4 for Dickey, and now a man in scoring position for VR, and that looked like a pretty good pitch. VR got caught looking as he ended the 2nd inning. Little looper in center field dropping, but here comes Pilar to make the play. That'll do it for Houston. They leave a man in scoring position on the walk. We played 3.5, 2-1. Astros lead it.
Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO.
Keep the beat now. 2-1 Astros lead. The Astros want to keep this lead this afternoon. 4-5-6 coming up for these Toronto Blue Jays. Chris Colabello is 0 for 1 on the day. Left fielder for Toronto. He's been a red hot hitter. 16-game hitting streak coming in. And it reflects in the batting average, .356. Although batting in the cleanup spot today, it's been a spot the Blue Jays have struggled with recently. 7 for 35 over recent games. Right on the hands, fouled off.
Good pitch.
Ball and a strike. Colabello leading off the 4th inning for the Toronto Blue Jays. Colabello, 31 years of age. Hasn't come easy for him. He's kind of been all over the place trying to make it to the big leagues, and now with that batting average trying to stick. But he looks probably more like a DH than anything else. Problem for Colabello with the Toronto Blue Jays, Edwin Encarnacion is the DH.
Good grief.
With a catcher, you don't say how many fingers am I holding up, you say how many fingers are you holding down as he gives the sign. Some catchers through the years accused of not really knowing how many fingers they put down. Curveball grounded left side. VR on the move. And a good throw on the run as he gets the leading lady here in the 4th inning. It brings up Dioner Navarro.
All those replays do for me is reinforce the fact that I made the right career choice in playing the infield.
Well, you had tools. And see, some of us, Craig Biggio, great example. Too many tools to stick behind the plate.
Yeah, you had to get him out from behind there, let him run around a little bit.
Others of us better in a rocking chair.
Well, you've got tools. It's just a different set to go back behind home plate with, man. I did not have the mentality to endure that much pain on a daily basis.
Dioner Navarro, the DH today, is a catcher. 0 for 1 on the day, popped to second. Little looping liner into left field, drops in front of Colby Rasmus. A 1-out single. And for the Blue Jays, hit number 5 on the afternoon.
It's got to be frustrating for Colin McHugh. He doesn't throw that changeup all that often, but the two times we've seen him throw it, they've gotten 2 hits off it. Jose Reyes with the first one, and now Dioner Navarro with another one, but not hit very hard. Still effective pitches, just getting nothing to show for it.
Yeah, that's the thing. And then a pitcher loses confidence in the pitch because he gives up hits with it. But I think that's a pitch that Colin and all the guys need to make themselves the most effective they can be. Navarro, not a guy that's a threat to run. And the Blue Jays have not been a team that runs a whole lot on the course of the season. Although they do have 34 stolen bases. That number is going to go up, by the way, with Reyes back in there. They've run very effectively, caught just 6 times. Jason Castro flinches after catching that pitch and not getting a call. And for good reason.
I guess there are just some pitches that are too good. Can't call them, you just watch them.
You know, if that strike box was a pane of glass and you break or chip any part of it, it's a strike. And that one broke it good. Fly ball deep right center field, way back at the wall. And this one gets out of here. Opposite field, 2-run home run. Russell Martin And the Blue Jays jump back on top 3-2 here in the fourth inning. And for Martin, his 8th of the year.
I don't think Colin McHugh is too happy with that pitch before not being called a strike. Kind of put him in that situation. Still, you got to execute the pitch. But as a hitter, you get that strike called a ball. You're a little more comfortable in there, and then you get a fastball up, out over the plate. And that ball well struck, and Russell Martin knew it.
So long ball is playing a big part of what's gone on today. That's the second for the Blue Jays. The Astros with 1 on the afternoon. 8 dingers, 26 RBIs for Russell Martin. Brings up Justin Smoke. And you're right. You throw a pitch, you don't get the call you really should have gotten. And then you're kind of forced to find a little more of the plate. Ground ball's a fair ball. Carter will field and feed on to his pitcher McHugh. Out number 2 here in the fourth. And that tough key, though, is to not let that bother you. And that's really difficult. 8-hitter Kevin Pillar comes to the plate. It's not like the dimensions are small here in Toronto, and yet a lot of balls seem to fly out of this ballpark.
See Castro hold that pitch.
Are you going to call it this time?
That was interesting.
Fly ball left field and deep. Rasmus going back. Has a bead and makes the play. That'll do it for the Blue Jays in the fourth inning. They get 2 runs on a big home run by Russell Martin, and Colin McHugh has some comments with the home plate umpire Sam Holbrook.
Against the Brewers, the game begins with the roof open. With the storm approaching, the roof closes in the 5th inning, making it the first game in Major League Baseball history to be played indoors and outdoors. Here, I'm not sure if it was called the Rogers Center back then, but here at the Sky Dome.
Yeah, it closes very uniquely. Wish you could actually see it. Fly ball to center field as Castro flies out on the first pitch. Starting the 5th inning. Blue Jays on top. And this was Colin McHugh walking off the field.
I like it. You got to stick up for yourself every once in a while. And I'm sure he was letting Sam Holbrook know that, you know, next time I throw a strike, call it a strike.
It is tough to deal with. And again, you have to act like it doesn't bother you. You have to keep plowing through the ball game. But you feel like you've been dealt with unjustly, and it is hard to take that attitude. Jake Marnisnick stands in. Snapped an 11 at bat hitless streak with a home run in the 3rd inning. Count went to 3-0. R.A. Dickey threw a couple of fastballs with quotations around them. A couple of strikes, and then the knuckleball was slammed out to left center field. Marnisnick with 4 dingers on the year now. Hits a fly ball center field, and this fairly deep as Pilar goes back shy of the warning track. He'll make the catch. So Jake Marnisnick getting some pretty good swings here this afternoon. 2 down in the 5th inning.
The ball does carry here. I'm not sure if the stadium here carries better with the roof closed open. It seems like every time I've been here or played here or talked to guys who have played here, they really have no preference. They just like hitting here.
George Springer had himself some kind of swing right there, fouling it back. 1 for 1 on the day. He has walked and singled, also caught stealing. The Astros 34-23, best record in the American League, 2nd best in the majors. Only the Cardinals are better. And now George reaches for a 3rd straight time, so that on base percentage is benefiting. Hit by the pitch with 2 outs. It brings up Jose Altuve.
Oh, that was a little Biggio-esque. Let that front shoulder linger out there a little bit. Take the hit by pitch.
So that speed aboard, but Russell Martin has already shown he can really throw from behind the plate. And now Russell Martin leaves that area from behind the plate, goes out to the mound. Martin has also homered today, so he's been a big impactor on today's game. Jose Altuve picked up 3 hits yesterday, but 0 for 2 today. Sees that batting average right back at the 300 mark.
Man, it's got to be tough to be him.
Yep. Life's tough when you're struggling at 300. Started the day at 303.
Might have been the best thing I did with my career, set that bar low.
Yeah, a lot of us did that. Bob Uecker used to talk about that, about never going out and putting up numbers that were too good. People would start expecting things.
Yeah, you don't want to live with that expectation. It's tough.
Also had the great line on the knuckleball and catching it. Wait till it stops rolling and pick it up. 2 balls and a strike on Altuve. Hung out 1 line drive yesterday. It's intriguing. You always hear the comments about finding better pitches to hit, and though it's true, the RBI base hit, for example, yesterday from Altuve was a pitch up and in, well out of the strike zone, broke his bat, got a base hit, and drove in a run. That's a pretty good at bat when it's all said and done. Three-1 pitch. Knuckleball hit on the ground, foul.
Yeah, he's not used to not getting hits on those pitches.
Yeah.
But internally, I'm sure he went through that swing trying to figure out why he didn't barrel it up. And those guys that hit 300 plus, they know their swing so well.
Altuve, through 5 years in the major leagues now, a career .302 hitter. So he is that guy. Gets a piece and fouls it back. Springer on the move on the 3-2 with 2 outs. Jose has 5 home runs this year. Got him early. Had 7 last year as he won the batting title, hitting .341. Had a .377 on base percentage last year. He's at .344 this year. Again, Springer on the move. Pitch it in the air center field. Easy for Pilar. That'll do it. The Astros down in the 5th inning. Fail to score as they leave a man. We played 4.5. It's 3-2. Blue Jays on top.
Houston Methodist is going to help us get to know Colby Rasmus a little bit. I'm really shocked by that first one. Favorite sport besides baseball? Hunting. Favorite karaoke song? Country Boy Can Survive. But of course his favorite movie is Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
You saw that coming?
I'm going to have to talk to him about that later on the plane. See what his favorite scene was. Maybe what his favorite line is from that movie.
I think we need to break out a little Country Boy Can't Survive on the plane.
I'm not going to do it without McTaggart being on the plane.
That'll get that party rocking, don't you think?
Don't believe it.
Ryan Goins, the 9-hitter, leading it off for the Blue Jays here in the 5th inning. Jays on top 3-2. 2 home runs for Toronto. Jose Bautista solo job in the 1st inning. 2-run shot by Russell Martin in the 4th. There's an effective change. Jake Marnisnick, a solo home run for the Astros in the 3rd inning.
Oh man.
Half swing, they appeal, and he goes through. According to third base umpire Bill Welke, that's out number 1 here in the 5th inning. 2nd strikeout for Colin McHugh.
That was a full breakdown on that swing by Goins.
You know, he did a nice job with the hands, but the body just kept spinning. Jose Reyes 1 for 2 on the day. Has hit in 5 straight now for the Blue Jays. Fastball up and in right there on the hands. With the 1 for 2 day, Reyes hitting .295 as he pushes back toward 300. Reaches out, a little flare, but Altuve gets there to make the play. And 2 outs in the 5th inning. That'll bring up Josh Donaldson with the bases empty. You can see the fairly large foul territories there that Blummer was talking about. Probably true that most ballparks have the seating up about where the warning track ends here in this park.
Yep, I would agree with that. But still not much room behind home plate.
Pitch is fouled back by Donaldson, who is 1 for 2. This was quite an acquisition by the Blue Jays. Sent Brett Laurie on to the Oakland A's. More players involved in the deal, but Billy Beane letting go of Josh Donaldson surprised many of us. Pretty good looking pitch. Not called a strike. Jason Castro appears to be rather frustrated behind the plate.
It's got to be frustrating as a catcher. You set up, put your glove up, pitcher hits the glove, and you got nothing to show for it.
You just get to thinking to yourself, what can I do to help my pitcher? We wanted to work in today. It's not working.
Ooh, right on right changeup. That's the first one we've seen today, and might be the first one we've seen in a long time from Colin McHugh.
It could be very effective.
I agree.
See the reaction of Donaldson. Fastball gets fouled off. 2-2 the count. Toronto struck first, a run in the first inning on the Bautista home run. The Astros came back with singletons in the second and third innings. First run scoring on a wild pitch, the second on Marnisnick's bomb. And then a 2-run home run by Russell Martin, putting the Blue Jays in front 3-2. No single pitch right now appears to be really mastered for the moment by Colin.
No, he's had to mix it up big time to try and keep these hitters off balance. But yeah, there hasn't been one pitch with 2 strikes that he's able to go to.
Ground ball up the middle. Donaldson has a second knock on the day. Well, if you can find the holes, it is a fun game.
This is a changeup. Some anger in that scream.
You think that frustration was about the hole being hit on a softly hit ball or the particular pitch being hit?
I have no idea. Could have been a little of both. Or he could just be mad at the hitter for actually hitting a good pitch, which they do sometimes.
Jose Bautista has hit a few of those in his career. 1 for 2. Long home run and grounded into a double play. When Bautista gets it hot, he's about as dangerous as any hitter in the game. Curveball, that's the same one that he almost went down on in the previous at bat.
Seen some of those pitches called in that upper right hand corner.
It's right in that same spot where the previous one that I referred to was. Ball and a strike.
Ooh.
That the changeup again?
Yeah, but I was a little surprised to see Holbrook calling that one down on his own. Maybe some of that screaming at him was a little bit effective by McHugh, because we just saw that second pitch at the top, that third one at the bottom.
Calling out in front, 1-2. There's that fastball that just gets away at times on Colin McHugh.
How'd that not hit him?
Fans certainly reacting.
Well, you could see it from that replay back there, as you were talking about how he has to really focus on keeping the fingers behind the baseball, because he gets on the side, that thing really ran in.
And there's the one that gets yanked the other way. He try to make up the difference, and sometimes you just overdo it. And now 3-2. Donaldson will be on the move. It's a semi shift on now with Bautista at the plate. We've seen Bautista a couple of times already this season just hit a ground ball through the right side, and so the Astros adjusting. Pitch is fouled back. Colin has been all over the strike zone here working on Bautista.
I feel like in the last month we've really had to watch Colin McHugh grind through some of these starts because he doesn't have that consistent command. We'll see flashes of it, a couple innings of it, and then all of a sudden it just disappears.
Had such a great year last year, and he's 6-2 this year. He is a grinder out there. Bautista takes and draws the walk. So with 2 outs, the base hit by Donaldson and the walk to Bautista, and now 2 aboard for Chris Colabello. Brent Strom will come out to the mound, and they'll talk it over.
Actually, this is the first time I think in all of Colin McHugh's career with the Astros that I've actually seen him flustered and showing it on the mound.
Yeah. 83 pitches now for Colin. We're in the 5th inning. Looking around the American League West. He's got some news and notes.
I think the A's miss some of that offense and Sean Doolittle in the back end of that bullpen.
Yeah. How about the Texas Rangers? They've won 15 of 19 and are 3.5 games back in the American League West. Angels have lost 4 straight. Mariners just aren't scoring runs.
Which is crazy with as hot as Nelson Cruz was early on. And having Cano in that lineup.
And Robinson Cano has struggled this year.
Wow.
Yeah, it's hard to guess. I mean, you think you know what's going to happen every year, and then it finds a way to surprise you. Chris Colabello takes a strike on the inside edge. He's 0 for 2 on the day, trying to extend that hitting streak to 17 games. Wonder how much of that conversation on the hill might have been about just take a deep breath, kind of regroup, get yourself back to where you like to be when you're pitching.
Well, as much as as a hitter, you try and break up the rhythm of a guy that's going extremely well. I think on the defensive side, you got to have the knowledge to go out there and break up a streak for your pitcher when he's not going extremely well. Get him out of that routine, get him out of that rhythm, plant a different thought in there, change things up.
And that pitch, you could hear it, just a little tip of the uniform. And so a hit batter, Colabello, will head on down to first base to load him up for Diana Navarro, as Will Harris now heats it up in the Astros pen.
A.J. Hinch looked over at Strami and said, "That's not what I told you to tell him." But again, that arm side run into these right-handed hitters.
So Colin McHugh got the first 2 hitters, Goins and Reyes, to start the inning. But now the bases juiced. Navarro at the plate is 1 for 2. He was aboard on the home run by Russell Martin in the 4th inning. And takes a strike. Big moment in the ball game, a 1-run game here in the 5th. You want to keep it there. And there's that arm side miss again. It's Donaldson at third base, Jose Bautista at second, and Chris Colabello, who was hit by the pitch, down at first. Trying to come back and find that inside edge. It's 2 balls and a strike. Kind of one of those game-making, game-breaking moments.
Yeah, this is definitely a big spot.
Shift on. Fly ball to left. Should be easy for Rasmus. He'll make the catch, and that'll do it. Colin McHugh battles his way out of the 5th inning as the Blue Jays leave 3. It's a 3-2 Toronto lead.
Low-scoring affair so far. Colin McHugh doing a great job of pitching out of some jams, but he's allowed 2 home runs. You see only 10 on the season, but he's allowed 13 all of last year. Marnisnick with his 4th home run. Doing quite well. Russell Martin up here in Canada doing extremely well. 2-run bomb. Bautista with that other home run. And that bottom line is probably the biggest one right now. Left the bases loaded right there in the 5th. Colin McHugh grinding it out.
And because of all of that, Colin McHugh has a chance to have a quality start today. A little representation for the Astros here.
These guys look like they're stuck in the 80s.
Nothing bad about that.
Good times, right?
Absolutely. Can't remember them, but heard they were good. Evan Gattis leads off here in the 6th inning.
I've heard that about the 80s.
Yeah, for none of those reasons for me, but R.A. Dickey with that knuckleball. It gets hammered down the left side at the pole. It goes foul up into the 2nd tank, and that ball was raked. Toronto Blue Jays now have left-hander Aaron Loop warming in their pen.
Curled right before the foul pole.
The 0-2, a knuckleball that gets on by Russell Martin. It's about the point when some hitters will turn to the catcher and say, how am I supposed to hit it if you can't catch it?
That's a good question.
Line drive right at Donaldson. We've seen this before in the series. Twice yesterday. And let's check in with Julia.
Thank you, Ash. The 2015 Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot is open, and for the first time ever, it's online only. Vote for your favorite Astros today by visiting astros.com/vote. Got to get those votes in for Altuve.
Jose Altuve, over 2 million votes. He is a fan favorite. He's going to light it up and get really hot here soon. Colby Rasmus, the cleanup man, stands in 1 for 2 with a double. Kind of gift wrapped with a big bow on it back in the 2nd inning. A fly ball that dropped for a double in left field. Soft fly ball dropping in left field and will drop in front of Colabello. And as Colabello laid back and really realistically had no shot on this ball, I think some of the fans are wondering if a more fleet-footed left fielder might have had a shot.
I think that's a hit no matter who's out there.
I agree, but you know how sometimes it goes when a guy is struggling defensively.
Perception sometimes is everything. You kind of jog into it.
2 for 3 for Colby Rasmus, a single and a double, and now Chris Carter will stand in. He's 0 for 1. He's grounded out and walked. One ball and no strikes. Following today's game, the Astros move on to Chicago and play the White Sox over the next 3 days. What a pitching matchup we've got for tomorrow.
Ooh, yeah.
7:10 game time in Chicago. It'll be Lance McCullers, 2-0. With that great stuff we saw last time out, he'll be up against the left-hander, Chris Sale. A guy a lot of people feel could be a Cy Young candidate. Sale 5-2 on the year. And make sure and be with us for that one. Little snap throw down to first base. So McCullers and Sale tomorrow. In the Tuesday game, also 7-10. In fact, all 3 games at 7-10. Dallas Keuchel will work it. Roberto Hernandez in the final game. Nobody has stepped up and said they want to pitch against Dallas Keuchel yet. Close on the 1-2 pitch. It's 2-2.
Wow.
Boy, there's 4 tough pitches.
Extra life for Chris Carter. Get a hold of one.
Wonder what Sam Holbrook's going to think when he sees the data come in following today's game. This one gets on by, but Colby Rasmus couldn't move up.
I'm saying if I'm an umpire and I'm getting some data after a game I just called a bunch of knuckleballs, I'm throwing it in the trash.
Don't even bother looking?
No.
What about
There's too many things going on,
yeah.
You know?
I think Colin McHugh might feel like there could have been a pitch or two called a strike. Carter gets a piece and fouls it down the right side. Count at 3-2.
There's got to be times where they understand that they had a rough night, had a bad feel for the strike zone. They get that report and chuck it. I know I stunk today. You don't need to tell me again.
Yeah, that's right. Big 3-2 pitch to Carter. Got him swinging. Leaves it up in the strike zone, and that's a tough knuckleball to get to.
Especially when you expect it to dart down in the zone. Try and readjust your swing. Just keep that shoulder down. Then have to get up in the zone to try and attack it.
5 strikeouts now for Dickey. 2 outs in the 6th. And Luis Valbuena comes to the plate. And now 0 for his last 13. And how much does that start to weigh on you? Shift on with Valbuena at the plate. 186, that batting average. Power numbers good. Two-0 the count.
A good time for Luis to pick up his mound mate Colin McHugh, drive one out of here.
And that high strike called on the knuckler. 0 for 7 here in the series is Valbuena.
Wow. That was extensive.
Now that strike zone has struggled, and maybe the knuckleball is a big part of it. Maybe a higher knuckleball there, fouled back. And the count at 2-2. Russell Martin will take the opportunity to come out to the mound.
I'm going to throw the knuckleball.
Private chatter between pitcher and catcher.
And Russell Martin said, "You sure you got that?" Okay. Wait a minute. Double check.
I forgot what the sign is on that pitch.
I'm going to throw a knuckleball.
Got it.
Okay. Let's go. It's that insight that you can't get anywhere else. You know?
If only you could let the fans know how true it is at times. The 2-2. Threw that one pretty hard.
He did. He came after him.
100 pitches now for Dickey. 57 have been strikes. Rasmus will be on the move. There he goes, and the pitch is ball 4. So runners at first and second now for Jonathan VR. And at some point, the Astros are going to get a big swing. Again, a little conference on what needs to be thrown.
It's a big spot here. 2 outs. 2 runners on. VR.
VR got caught looking in the 3rd inning. And then flied out. That coming in the 5th. Big swing needed right now.
Just focus up the middle.
Of course, never fear. The Astros have those final 3 innings. 98 runs they've scored over the final 3 frames on the season. Half swing. Did he go through?
Ooh.
No, he did not.
Good call.
Let's confirm that.
Ooh.
I'm not sure I agree. 2 balls, no strikes. What's that sailing knuckleball?
That one took off. Almost looked like a slider.
I was going to say it looked like Mariano Rivera made a comeback.
At 77.
Well, yeah, that wouldn't exactly be him. His first warm-up toss. And the walk to VR will load him up for Jason Castro. So we've got another big moment coming up. John Gibbons coming out of the dugout for the Blue Jays. And has Gibby seen enough? Blue Jays have a right-hander now loosening in their pen. They had the lefty Aaron Loup up earlier. It is Aaron Loup coming in. So Loup has been summoned. He will face the left-handed bat of Castro or a pinch hitter. Astros down a run here in the 7th inning. We'll be right back. Hank Conger will now be summoned to pinch hit. Bases loaded. So you've got another one of these very big moments.
It's time for the AT&T call to the bullpen. For the Toronto Blue Jays, left-hander Aaron Loup. Kind of a sidearm delivery. Tough on lefties. Throws in the low to mid-90s.
So Hank Conger with the big at bat now takes a strike from the lefty Loup. And Hank Conger has been swinging it well, in particular from the right side of the plate. The Astros are yet to hit a grand slam this year. This would be a kind of nice moment. Foul tip at the plate. Or was it a swing and a miss? The way Russell Martin reacted, apparently there was no contact there. Ooh. And now 0-2 the count. Boy, that had a chance to slip on by. Right-hander Bo Schultz now warming in the pen for Toronto. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Colin McHugh had to battle out of the 5th inning as Toronto had the bases loaded with 2 outs. Got Deoner Navarro to fly out. And now the Astros down a run. Trying to find that big swing. And timeout called at the plate. Don't know if that came from Russell Martin or from Hank Conger. Now Martin, who's wearing it out between home plate and the mound, goes back out again. Conger's hitting just 182 against left-hand pitching, but 2 of his 3 home runs are against the left-handers. 2 of his 3 doubles have come against southpaws. Again the 1-2 and got him swinging. So Conger, the pinch hitter, strikes out, and that does it for the Astros in the threat in the 6th inning. They leave 3. We played 5 1/2, 3-2 Blue Jays on top.
Faith and Family Night, presented by Houston Methodist, is back in 2015. Christian rock band Mercy Me returns to the stage at Minute Maid Park for a post-game concert on Saturday, June 13th, after the Astros take on the Mariners. For more information, visit astros.com/faith.
Thank you, Julia. Yeah, there's stuff going on outside of the ballpark. You see it at the Rogers Center back there. Right in the heart of downtown Toronto. 3-2 the Blue Jays lead. Russell Martin, the catcher, leads it off and taps one at third base, and it kicks away from Valbuena, and now no play. Martin did not run hard down the line, and Valbuena, had he been able to come up with this after the bobble, likely had an out. It's an E5.
No, I completely agree with you, Ash. Watch Martin out of the box, puts his head down in disgust that he grounded that ball. And if Valbuena actually got something on that throw over to first base, I think they would have had Russell.
You know, I will say, of watching the Toronto Blue Jays, there are a few guys on this ball club who do not run out balls hard. And that's embarrassing in my book for Major League Baseball.
Would have been great to see Valbuena pick that ball up and make the throw. That would have been insult to injury.
Justin Smoke now stands in 0 for 2. Drills one down the right side, but hooks it foul. The head of the bat was officially out right there. Colin McHugh trying to get through this 6th inning. And again, he can come up with a quality start. It has been a battle almost from the first pitch. Off speed for the called strike, and caught looking his smoke. Out number 1. It brings up Kevin Pillar, the center fielder.
We haven't really seen that nice tight break on the breaking ball from Colin McHugh, but right here enough to sneak it into the top part of that zone.
Just 3 strikeouts for Colin. Kevin Pillar has picked up one of those strikeouts. He's 0 for 2 on the day. The Astros have turned one double play that came in the 3rd. And that's the only double play of the day. Colin McHugh is a battler. Pilar is now 3 for 10 in the series as he fouls it back. 0-2 the count. The Astros bullpen quiet at the moment. This well could be the final inning for Colin. He's at 96 pitches. High fly ball, shallow left field. Colby Rasmus with the easy play. Second out of the inning. It'll bring up the 9-hitter Ryan Goins. I wonder how Colin might feel about today's outing. There's a lot to be said about really toughing it out and battling when you may not have your sharpest stuff. And I feel like that's the case today for Colin McHugh. Finds the outside edge, 0-1.
Tell you what, watching him grind it out, you know he's developing a lot of respect in that dugout and in that clubhouse from these guys.
Absolutely. There's that little cutter spotted on the outside edge. The Astros now have Will Harris back throwing in their pen. There's Will the Thrill, as he's becoming.
Sure is.
One of Major League Baseball's truly dominant relief pitchers. Two and 1 the count. That's 100 pitches now for Colin. 62 strikes. So again, it's been a struggle, but he just keeps on going at it. Everybody has their tough times. You really respect the guys that just keep on grinding. On the hands and a diving stop by Carter. He'll go to the bag. That'll do it. So Colin gets some help defensively. A gem by Chris Carter. That'll do it in the 6th for the Blue Jays. They leave a man on this great play. It's 3-2 Toronto.
The TXU Energy Power Player of the Game. It is, of course, Jake Marnisnick back in that lineup. Had some struggles coming into this game, but got himself hanging knuckleball. He barreled it up nice, drove it out of the ballpark for that home run in the 3rd inning.
Now the Blue Jays go to their bullpen. Did I jump you?
No, I was just going to keep telling everybody how good Jake hit that baseball.
Hit it really well. Bo Schultz is now your new right-hander, pitcher number 3 for the Blue Jays.
Well, Bo Schultz has to be good, I guess, if he attended the same high school as Clayton Kershaw and Matthew Stafford.
Wow. Had some good arms come out of there, huh?
No doubt.
I wonder if Matthew Stafford was much of a baseball player. Got a gun on the football field, I know that.
Sure does.
So what do we know about this guy? 29 years of age, so he's been kicking around for a while. He would have preceded Clayton Kershaw coming out of that high school.
Well, he just threw that pitch at 97 miles an hour. I don't know why they've been sitting on this guy for so long.
Jake Marnisnick 1 for 2 with the home run we just saw.
With the bullpen numbers we've seen from the Toronto Blue Jays coming into this series,
yep.
I haven't seen an arm that looks like those numbers show.
No, not at all. No, that's not what we're seeing. And starting pitching has been good here in the series. Ooh. And there's the hit batter. Yeah.
There's 3 hit by pitches in this game already, and not one of them have been squared up.
3 uni hit by pitches.
Unbelievable.
Look at this.
That's a gift right there.
Nothing but uni. Larry Bird and Michael Jordan could have played that game. The nothing but uni shot from the rafters. You're too young to remember those commercials, aren't you?
I honestly have no idea what you just said.
Larry Bird and Michael Jordan there. Nothing but net. There's a base hit. Nothing but hole on the right side. George Springer has his 2nd hit of the day. He has reached 4 straight plate appearances. And now the Astros have something going. Runners at 1st and 2nd. Nobody out. Jose Altuve comes to the plate.
Well, that's good to see. Just go with it. Don't have to do too much with that. A huge hole over there. George Springer may have been looking out there and went with it.
Good speed aboard. Marnisnick at 2nd. Springer at 1st. Meeting at the mound.
Situations. What inning is it, Ash?
It is the 7th. What does that mean to you?
Release the hounds. We can start playing baseball if you're a Houston Astro fan.
The Astros have scored 98 runs from the 7th on. And they lead the major leagues in that category. So if that's the way it has to be, let's just keep running with it.
No doubt.
Liam Hendricks now throwing in the pen for Toronto. He's a right-hander. 1 ball and no strikes. Jose Altuve is hitless on the afternoon. Batting average has dipped back below 300. He's at 299. Well, opportunities are presenting themselves.
See Marnisnick out there? He was lunging a little bit. It almost looked as if he wanted to take 3rd base on that pitch.
Altuve, Gaddis, and Rasmus coming up. This is just the 6th major league appearance for Schultz. How about that kind of movement at 95?
I was going to say the same exact thing. I mean, Russell Martin is essentially sitting up down the middle and just let that pitch take off. Got the swing and miss.
Yeah, I think he's one of those pitchers at this point where you say, look, I'm just going to sit up down the middle. You try to find something through the plate. Fastball grounded at 3rd base. Donaldson throws it into right field. Here comes Marnisnick. He will tie the game at 3 into 3rd base George Springer. And this will be an E5 as Josh Donaldson throws one away for the Blue Jays.
Was athletic and as good as Josh Donaldson can look at 3rd base. Sometimes he can put himself in situations where he can make what should be a routine play into a tough play. You can see as he jumped up, coming down, lost his footing a little bit, falling backwards, and airmailed that one, allowing Jake Marnisnick to score George Springer to third, and Altuve is on first base.
So Altuve reaches on the fielder's choice. Everybody else moves up on the E5. And the Astros have caught him at 3 and now have runners at first and third. Nobody out for Evan Gattis. Not a bad spot to be in. Runner goes from first. It's a stolen base. Jose Altuve has picked up another. And the Astros start the day tied for the leadership in the American League in stolen bases. That's their 47th as a team, 17th for the league leader, Jose Altuve.
And I truly appreciate the fact that Altuve took off on that first pitch. Everybody in the ballpark knows he's going to go, but doing it early in the count allows Evan Gattis a couple more pitches to try and drive in 2 runs.
Infield now has to come in for Toronto. And it just gets better and better now in the 7th inning for the Houston Astros. All started with the hit batter, Jake Marnisnick. Took one on the uni. Broken bat, fly ball left center field in the gap. And this is going to drop over the head of Pilar. 2-run score. Astros lead at 5-3 on a 2-run double by Evan Gattis.
Did he break his bat on that?
Sure sounded like it.
He broke his bat and hit this ball about 365 feet. And I wonder if the sound off the bat threw off the center fielder Pilar, because he took a terrible route to this fly ball.
That's a great question. I thought the very same thing.
Got in the kitchen at Gattis, but he's strong enough to fight it off out there. I didn't realize the ball was going to carry this much, but the route that Pilar took. See how he comes in and across and then has to circle back. That tells you he wasn't sure how well that ball was hit off the bat.
Yeah, that was not good. Very good for the Astros cause. They lead 5-3. Still nobody out. Gattis at second for Colby Rasmus, who's 2 for 3 on the day.
My addition stinks, but I think that's 101 runs now on the season from the 7th inning on.
So let's add 3 to 98. We'll be back with you in moments as we get the calculators out.
Yep. I got to take my left shoe off to get this one right. I wish I had that pinky toe still.
Where'd you leave it?
It was a gardening accident.
Ah. Did you get the toe with the hoe?
No, I kicked the gnome a little too hard.
Ah. 1-1 the count on Colby, and now 1-2. Well, maybe we need to revise some of the comments on the Blue Jays. Is when they get their defense put together this year,
gosh,
they're going to be formidable. Because this pitching staff may be simply dealing with a defense that hasn't supported them at all. 2-2 on Rasmus. Ten errors over the last 11 games for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Wow.
I guess defenses can be streaky. Hot shot up the middle, but right there is Reyes. He'll get the out at first base. Into third base, Evan Gattis. And the Astros could certainly use that run. 1 out. Gattis 90 feet away.
Man, that's a tough out, a tough AB for Colby Rasmus. Got to 2 strikes. He's going to get those high fives because he moved Gattis to third base, but that ball was smoked up the middle.
Yeah, that leaves the bat as a hitter, you think, hit right away.
Hey, but that was in this day and age with the shifts.
Yeah.
What used to be hits are not.
Chris Carter swings through one. Carter has walked in 3 plate appearances, 0 for 2 on the day, 0 for his last 9. And that's a theme that is plaguing the club right now as they struggle. Infield drawn in. A 1-1 count on Carter.
Carter struggles with fastballs that are thrown at this velocity. I'd like to see him maybe get ready just a little bit earlier than he normally does. Get that barrel out in front of the plate. Elevate.
And now 1-2. Carter has struck out once today. That's 79 on the season to lead the league in that category. The 1-2. It was 2 years ago, 2013, that Carter struck out 212 times, most in the league. Hits one in the air, center field, plenty deep enough. This will score a run. Pilar makes the catch. Here comes Gaddis. And there's run number 6. It's a 6-3 Houston lead on a sac fly by Chris Carter.
Tons of good team baseball going on in that inning for the Houston Astros. Guys getting on base, taking advantage of extra outs given to them by Josh Donaldson at third base. Misread fly ball in center field, now a sac fly. Great job by Carter to put that ball in play and pick up this insurance run right here. And how about picking up a guy like this? McHugh, we talked about it, battling his tail off to get those 6 innings in, qualify for a quality start. Now his offense picks him up and he qualifies for a win.
Could be 7-2 at the end of the day, and the Astros could head on to Chicago with a win under their belts, and that would be a nice one.
That would be great. And Colin McHugh, the run support department, right around 5.6 on the season, so good for him.
RBI number 30 for Chris Carter. Yeah, so there's a lot really going well here with this 7th inning for Houston. By the way, Evan Gaddis, who drove in 2 with that double to left center field, 38 ribbies now to lead the club. And Valbuena down on strikes. That'll do it for the Astros. A very successful 7th inning as they put 4 on the board, and they lead it over the Blue Jays 6-3.
This pitching performance is powered by Kubota. We'll go back to June 1st and we talk about what Will Harris has done. We'll get to those season numbers, but he has been absolutely fantastic. Shot onto the scene in spring training with that fastball cutter combo around 91, 92 miles an hour. He's able to get in the kitchen of left-handed hitters. Keeps guys off balance. Also has a pretty good hammer. But nothing but electricity coming from that young man, Will Harris, who is now on the mound for the Houston Astros. And those are some of the numbers on the season. That .071 opponent batting average. Does he get enough recognition for maybe an all-star vote or two?
No, not at all. I haven't even heard his name mentioned.
I think he might be one of those manager picks.
Yeah, very well could be. I mean, the way he has pitched, he's earned every bit of what you say. Had that lengthy streak of consecutive games without allowing a run, and now has not allowed a run in his last 10. He's retired 27 of his last 31 hitters. That is tough even on a board game. Falls behind 2-1 as Jose Reyes, the leadoff man for the Blue Jays, leads off in the 7th inning. The Astros enjoying their first lead since the 3rd inning. They took a 2-1 lead at that point. Line drive right field. Springer going back, and he'll make a very nice running grab up over his head. George Springer making a play that not many others can make.
I think he could run faster sideways than both of us going straight ahead.
Oh, that's guaranteed.
This ball is smoked, and it's over his head. You see how he's running. It's not a normal stride. Shows you some of the athleticism of that young man. He's done some great job. He's done a great job in the outfield for the Astros.
He's a terrific right fielder.
Gets put in some tough positions sometimes, being out of, being in those shifts in the outfield, but he makes up for it with that speed.
So out number 1, a big one. Otherwise, extra bases for Reyes and a threat to run. And now Josh Donaldson.
Yeah,
2 for 3 with the bat.
It's one thing to get that lead out in the inning, but to keep Reyes off the base paths is huge.
Donaldson made that enormous. You can't overstate how big the error was in the top of the 7th. It's 2-0 on a close pitch. Ground ball hit by Altuve. Blue Jays tried to get 2. Instead, they got nothing. And the Astros were handed quite a gift in that frame. Then there was the fly ball hit by Evan Gattis that turned into the 2-run double for Evan Gattis. That looked initially, I think, to both of us like Kevin Pillar would have the play in center field.
Oh, yeah.
Three and 1 the count.
94.
Really good arm.
Man, yeah. Looks like he's got a pretty consistent delivery, also easy to repeat. The reason he's in this game is because of that guy.
Right there at the knees. It's 3 and 2. Yeah, Harris comes in with 31 strikeouts in 26 2/3 innings. Striking out 10.5 per 9 innings.
Jeez.
He's got a whip that looks like it must be a mistake. Ground ball left side. Foul outside the bag.
No, I noticed that earlier when I was looking at his numbers.
0.488. So he's had less than a half a base runner per inning. And keep in mind, a really good whip for a major league pitcher is right around that 1 mark. That's how good this guy's been.
But he's in that unfortunate position to be that 7th. He's the setup to the setup guy.
Yeah.
So he kind of goes unnoticed, and he can put together these strings, and because he doesn't have that label.
Strike 3 called. Donaldson caught looking. He had started toward first base, but we'll have to turn it around, and Donaldson did not like the call.
It's been a rough 7th inning for Josh Donaldson. The error that led to a couple runs, and now you're getting punched down on a pitch up and in. We've seen some of the high strikes called from Sam Holbrook.
Colin McHugh struck out just 3 on his day. And now the 4th strikeout. Jose Bautista comes to the plate with the bases empty. And he hits a drive left field. Back at the wall. Bautista has done it again. His 2nd long ball of the year. Or of the game, rather. His 11th on the year. And how good is that Bautista does it with nobody on base? It's now 6-4, Houston leading. That's just the 2nd earned run against Will Harris this year.
It's just a mislocation right down the middle. You saw where Conger was setting up. Really wanted that ball down and away. But like you said, Ash, if there is any kind of a silver lining in giving up a home run to a guy who hits a lot of them, at least nobody was on base.
So the Astros lead it by 2 now in the 7th inning. Fouling one down the right side is Chris Colabello. You know, you hate to see your club get in too long of a funk. The Astros have lost 3 in a row, and you want to turn it around as quickly as possible. All clubs are going to have their tough times during the course of the year. But if the Astros can win this ball game, it sets up nice for Colin McHugh, as we've talked about. It sets up nice for the team as you're leaving town. Blue Jays dominated the first 2 games, but you've got a chance to make it 5 out of 7 on the season against Toronto. So there are a lot of positives you can take out of a win today.
Well, as we get to the end of the year and you maybe see the standings where the Blue Jays could be at the top of that AL East, I mean, how much better does that look for the Astros taking 5 of 7?
Yes. And I think a lot of clubs, when the season's all said and done, are going to have a really tough time with this Blue Jays club. Injuries will tell a big part of that tale. Harris misses high. Three and 1 the count. It's the DH Deoner Navarro waiting on deck. Colabello 0 for 2 on the day. Pops it up shallow in center field. Jake Marnisnick coming on. Altuve out. It's Altuve with the play. So that'll do it for the Blue Jays. They get a run on the home run by Bautista. It's now a 6-4 Houston lead.
In Canada before heading south into Chicago. 3-game set against the Chicago White Sox. Day off Thursday. You better enjoy that one, boys, because it starts getting into the thick of this season. 20 games straight after that day off. Tomorrow's starters, it's going to be a good one. Lance McCullers coming off that great game. 11 strikeouts, complete game, 2-0 record, going up against Chris Sale. High strikeout guys against high strikeout teams should make for a fun afternoon.
I think a lot of us are excited about that one, but one game on the line right here. Liam Hendriks now comes on for Toronto. He'll work in the 8th inning. The Astros with a 6-4 lead over the Blue Jays. A game that has seen Jose Bautista hit a couple of home runs. Russell Martin has hit a 3rd for the Toronto Blue Jays. The Astros have one long ball. That was Jake Marnisnick. But they also have a 4-run 7th inning as the ground ball goes up the middle. Reyes with the play. And he gets Jonathan Villar for the first out of the inning.
Liam's going to work with a fastball around 94 miles an hour, slider, curveball, and a split finger. Nobody in this bullpen comes out of there throwing less than 90 miles an hour. Seems to be the growing trend in baseball also.
Seems to be the theme in the 2010s, huh?
Jeez.
Hank Conger, who came on as a pinch hitter, lines one into right field. So Conger, who struck out with the bases loaded to end the 6th inning, as he came on as a pinch hitter for Jason Castro, now lines one into right. He's 1 for 2. And he beats the shift, Ted Williams-like.
Just hit it right through it. Line drive, some top spin on it, drop it right in between the second baseman and right fielder.
1-out single brings up Marnisnick. Right-hander Pat Neshek now getting up in the Astros pen. Marnisnick shows bunt, takes a strike. Did you mention Liam Hendriks being from Australia? From Perth?
I did not do that.
I didn't want to double dip you there, but ooh, that's a good looking fastball at 96. That thing got on the string and just stayed right there.
West coast of Australia.
Another good fastball. There haven't been a lot of players come out of Australia. Those who have come, relief pitchers with really good arms. I'm trying to think of the guy's name that pitched a number of years recently with Tampa Bay as a closer.
Dundee.
It was not Crocodile. Boy, that foul ball went right over the head of George Springer.
I actually played against Dave Nielsen back in the day, and I was a teammate of Graham Lloyd when I played up here in Canada with Montreal. Both Australians.
Little fister into center field. Will it drop? Yes, it will. Second hit of the day for Jake Marnisnick. Into second base is Conger, and now 1 out for the top of the order with George Springer standing in.
Take that ball. Got to fight it off with 2 strikes. Put it in play. Sometimes good things happen, and right here it did. Broken bat. Deadened it just nicely.
By the way, the guy I was thinking of was Grant Balfour, who had good strong arm. Strong personality as well, as I recall.
Anger issues.
Yes, he did.
Man, he can close out a game.
George Springer has reached 4 times today. Has a big rip. He is 2 for 2. He has walked. He's been hit by a pitch, scored a run.
Turbo slider.
So George got the start today. There were some questions as to whether he would play this afternoon. I know there's been talk about him maybe getting an off day soon, but with today's effort, you wonder.
And it's all up to that guy right there, A.J. Hinch. He is in the clubhouse. He is a part of these guys. He reads them pretty good. But he felt that having George Springer in that lineup today was going to give him a better shot at winning. Right now, he's looking like a genius.
Slider in the dirt. By the way, the Astros recently had one of those Australian-born pitchers, Travis Blackley.
Yeah. Weren't we here in Toronto when he was getting yelled at by Joe West for taking too long in between pitches?
Yeah, where was that?
I think it
could have been here.
That was funny.
He was a little bit deliberate, could you say?
Yeah. Great guy.
Yes. 1-2 on Springer. And he takes strike 3. So Cott looking. They get Springer for the first time today. That's the second out here in the 8th inning. And it brings up Jose Altuve looking for his first knock of the day.
It was the first fastball George got to see in that at bat. First 3 pitches, all sliders, a couple swings and misses, and then just pure cheese blown by him.
I will say, whatever Hendriks is doing, he's getting right behind that ball and spinning it, because that ball is not dropping at all other than the angle that he's throwing it at. Ground ball sharply hit to Donaldson. He'll get the out at second base, and that'll do it. The Astros get a couple of hits and leave them. We've played 7.5, 6-4 Houston.
Presented by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com.
Ooh, yeah, where's everybody gone? It's turned a little chilly. Julia was out there laying out in the sun earlier, and
it's like a good place to do it. A little bit of a beach.
Yeah. Miami Beach right here in Toronto, Ontario. New pitcher for the Astros, Marnisnick. Pitcher number 3 on the day for Houston, comes on to work the 8th, trying to protect this 6-4 Houston lead.
Marnisnick, the bringer of funk, on the mound with that delivery. 25th game. 3-0 on the season. Done a good job of vulturing some of those wins, but he's got the numbers to back it up. His whip is quite low also.
Ooh.
Yeah, I love that one.
Little changeup coming out of, I don't know if it's quite South America. It's somewhere near the equator, I guess.
It's a little more Costa Rica or Nicaragua there.
Yeah, maybe so. He looks like he's going to drop down all the way. Brings a strike. It's 1-1. You know what he's done on his career in 9 years? He's 26-11. So he's been one of those guys who will pick up some W's for you. Yeah.
Nice. Right place, right time.
322 appearances now in the big leagues. Nary a start. Line drive right at Valbuena. And the Blue Jays were owed that one.
Yeah, it's about time the Astros start getting some of those. And several lineouts by Astro hitters to Blue Jays third baseman Josh Donaldson. Only man standing over there, you hit it right at him.
Valbuena looked like he was angry that that line drive came in his direction. What are you doing?
Over here having a relaxing afternoon all by myself on the left side of the infield, and you're attack me.
Russell Martin comes to the plate, 2 for 3 with a single and a dinger. He's also reached on an E5 as Martin just kind of jogged it down the first base line. He was safe, but
it took a while.
Didn't look very good. One out here in the bottom of the 8th inning. And an 0-2 count. Justin Smoke waits on deck. By the way, the 2-homer day for Jose Bautista, the first time he's turned that trick this year. One and 2 the count. Russell Martin stands in hitting .269. Made a great throw early in the ballgame to get George Springer trying to steal. Puts it in the air to center field. Easy for Marnisnick as he moves toward right center and makes the catch. 2 up, 2 down here in the 8th inning. It brings up Justin Smoak. Smoak 0 for 3 on the day with a strikeout. One of just 4 strikeouts recorded by the Astros staff today. And Neshek just keeps on pumping strikes. With the 2 outs recorded on this afternoon's game, that's 21 1/3 innings for Neshek and not a walk issued.
Impressive stuff coming out of that Astro bullpen.
You know, we were recently posed with the question, what is the biggest reason between the power that the Astros have shown this year and the bullpen they've had as to why the Astros have had the success they've had this year?
That was easy for me.
Yeah,
all bullpen.
For me, it was kind of a balance. Without one, the other one doesn't do enough. But yeah, very impressive. And you know, any direction you go with that one, I don't have a problem with the answer. But the bullpen has been spectacular.
Not sure what the exact number was last year, but it had to be close to 25, 26 games that were blown late when they had the lead.
That's right. Look, if the Astros didn't put up the power numbers they've put up this year, you'd be saying, boy, as good as this bullpen has been, it's a shame the Astros don't have more wins. But it's been a really great combination as ball 4 is delivered. Smoak reaches. And the first walk. That's on me? Okay, I'll take it. You know, it happens.
It's always our fault. I thought that's what the deal was.
We are powerful creatures up here who determine the outcomes of ball games. So a 2-out walk, and not once again will we be able to say this year that Pat Neshek has not walked a man. So I will take my thrashing as Kevin Pillar comes to the plate.
I just think that's an incredible number, even with the 1 walk on the year, with Neshek's motion, able to repeat that and have a consistent release point to get strikes. But he's mastered it.
Each team with 8 hits on the day. Pillar fouls it back. Yeah, Pat Neshek has other impressive numbers throughout his career. He's allowed just about a home run per 9 innings over his career. Brett Cecil, the left-hander, getting loose in that pen for Toronto. Fly ball right center field. Marnisnick gliding toward it. Springer will peel off. Marnisnick with the play, and that'll do it. So Neshek shuts him down in the 8th inning. We've played 8, going to the 9th. 6-4 Houston.
By Cisco. Picnic in the Park features a picnic buffet in the Minute Maid Park outfield, an autograph session with Astros players, and family-friendly activities. To purchase tickets, visit astros.com/picnic. This Astros team has now scored 102 runs in the 7th inning or later. Gary Pettis was actually telling me not too long ago. This group actually reminds him of a team that he was playing for, the California Angels, back in 1986. It was a team that just seemed to come alive in the late innings. He said fans in right field bleachers actually made a sign that they would hang over in the 7th, and it said, "These are our innings." Just confidence about this team, never feeling like they're out of the game. It's good to see them respond today, guys.
Yeah, they do it once again. Thanks, Julia. That big 4-run 7th inning, the difference in the ball game. 6-4 Houston now in the 9th inning. 3-4-5 coming up for the Stros. Evan Gattis leads it off. He had one of the huge swings of the ball game, a double that plated a pair in the 7th, and takes a mighty rip right here.
We talked about in the open how McHugh had to be the guy to stop this streak a little bit. It's a lot of pressure to put on a pitcher to go out there and do that, but at the same time, the offense has to be accountable for their part too.
Yep. Agreed. And that's kind of back to that argument about it. What's been the biggest contributor to the success of the team this year? One's not very effective without the other, but boy, it's been a phenomenal bullpen. Luke Gregerson is loosening for the 9th inning. By the way, Gregerson, when he comes on, will face the 9, 1, and 2 spots for the Blue Jays. Ryan Goins, Jose Reyes, and Josh Donaldson. Pitch is popped up. Catcher Martin on it will make the catch, and 1 out. Colby Rasmus comes to the plate. So Evan Gattis gets just 1 hit on the day, but you get that 1 hit in a big situation and drive in a pair of runs, and you contribute hugely to a victory if you can get it. Sounds like we've got a college football game just broke out.
I'm in.
They are chanting Colby here. Colby is 2 for 4 on the day with a double and a single. Scored a run. Fly ball left center field and fairly well hit. Pilar on the move will call off his left fielder and make the running grab. 2 down in the 9th inning. Great time to check in with Julia.
Follow the Astros all season with MLB.com at BAT, the #1 app for live baseball. At BAT is up to the moment, at any moment, with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcast, StatCast, and more. Get MLB.com at BAT for your smartphone or tablet.
Julia, how'd you do with your tanning out there on the beach today?
What beach? I wasn't at the beach.
Oh, we thought we saw you out there on.
No, I didn't get up to the tower either.
Yeah, that's a shame.
That is. It's probably a perfect time to do it right now, too.
The sun rays are really good out there. Yeah, it was one of those seats. I thought we saw you earlier, but.
Wait, why wasn't I out there?
That's the ultimate question.
She always talks her way out of these situations.
Well, you're scared of heights. You're probably scared of sand. I don't know.
Wow. No, of course not. I'm scared of sharks, but not sand. Nobody invited me. Thanks, guys.
There might have been a land shark out there earlier. Chris Carter at the plate.
That was a good skit. Candy Graham.
Yeah, it's been a while back, too. What were you, about 8?
Yeah, I was staying up late watching some Saturday Night Live.
You know, Chris Carter came up with a big swing in the game, a sac fly in that 4-run 7th inning. He's got an 0 for going. He's 0 for 2. He's walked and had the sac fly. But that produced the 6th Houston run of the afternoon.
Well, your 3, 4, 5 guys for the Astros have got 3 hits, 3 RBIs. And if you're going to make outs, you might as well make productive outs. That was a great AB to drive in that run with the sac fly.
How about the bullpen arms? of Liam Hendricks and Roberto Osuna that we've seen here in the series. Man.
Electric.
Takes a little off to get to 95. The Astros trying to win 1 out of 3 in this 3-game set. Did that get him? No. It's ball 4. So Carter draws the 2-out walk. It brings up Luis Valbuena. Valbuena on the day is 0 for 3 with a walk. A couple of strikeouts. And it's mounting a bit now. 0 for 14 the last 14 at bats for Luis. Takes the heater for a strike.
They've got quite the predicament with Valbuena. Struggling, average below 200. Yet, if he makes contact, it has a tendency to jump out of the yard
quickly. That fastball is thrown by. That's what I noticed on the Osuna fastball that we've seen in the series. Just a straight line to the plate, and hitters can't quite get to it. Runner goes, the pitch in the dirt. Russell Martin somehow comes up with it and makes a strong throw off line, and a nice play by Reyes to save him. But Russell Martin does an amazing job on a pitch in the dirt, coming out and firing quickly.
Chris Carter with a stolen base.
So the Astros pick up their second bag of the day, the other one by Altuve.
Yeah, Russell Martin made that look just natural. I think that's what he's supposed to do, pick it and throw it.
That was really good. For Carter, his first stolen base on the year. For the Astros, number 48. They start the day tied with the Tigers, leading the American League. The 1-2. Yeah, nice little base hit, producing a run right here would be nice. What if Carter saw a green light there to be able to go, or did he actually see a steal sign?
I think with 2 strikes on Valbuena, he decided to take a chance.
Three and 2 the count. Jonathan VR waits on deck. There's the speedster. And foul down the left field side. By the way, for Chris Carter, he's a veteran at the stolen base games. That's his 9th of his career. He's 9 of 11.
Almost double digits. Is he going to get the base on that 10th?
I'd love to ask this question of real Astros fans. How many bases did Chris Carter steal last year in an Astros uniform?
2.
5.
Whoa.
He was 5 for 7 last year. Shot to third base. Donaldson is there again. And Valbuena, I believe that's the second time, hits one at Donaldson in the series. That'll do it for the Astros. They leave a man in scoring position. To the bottom of the 9th we go. 6-4. Astros on top.
And the reason for that was a strong performance from Colin McHugh. Didn't have his best stuff on the day, but still quite effective. Worked out of some jams. Did a little defensive help on some of those tough fly balls. Did a good job of keeping the ball all over the place, keeping some of those hitters off balance. 7 hits scattered, 3 earned runs on the day. 1 walk, only 3 strikeouts. He did give up those 2 home runs, but the young man gutted it out, kept his ball club in it. Got himself a quality start, and the Astros picked him up again in that 7th inning on.
So Luke Gregerson works it in the 9th inning. He'll face Munenori Kawasaki to start things. And the fans in Toronto love Kawasaki, and they were just cheering like crazy with him pinch hitting for Goins. To be followed by Jose Reyes and Josh Donaldson. And the first pitch in the 9th taken for a strike.
Probably the most entertaining interview in baseball is at that right now.
Line drive down the left field side, drops for a hit. And up into the seats, it's a leadoff double for the Toronto Blue Jays. Kawasaki tries to make the good times roll here in Toronto.
He just flipped it out there. Nothing too exciting. This kind of hits will drive you nuts if you're on defense.
Well, there's the Blue Jays start. Now the top of the order, Jose Reyes, Josh Donaldson, and Jose Bautista to follow. The assignment now a tough one for Luke Gregerson. Gets ahead on Reyes, who's 1 for 4 on the day, had a 3rd inning single. It's been Colin McHugh, Will Harris, Pat Neshek, and Luke Gregerson for the Astros. Colin McHugh in a position to win it if Gregerson can hang on here. The Astros trying to improve to 35-23. Ball and a strike on Reyes. Gregerson a check of Kawasaki, and this one kicks away from Conger, but not enough for Kawasaki to move up. Of course, that run doesn't mean anything.
No, for me, I agree. That run means absolutely nothing. Luke Gregerson has to go out there and get Jose Reyes. But with Kawasaki getting to second base and staying out of the double play possibilities, it forces Bautista to come up in this inning.
Yep. Gregerson is supplying the cause of work here for Conger. Called a check swing. It's 3-1 now on Reyes. And now Gregerson in danger of having 2 runners aboard. And then things really change. The 3-1 from Gregerson. Line drive, base hit. Gregerson has given up a run here in the 9th inning and now has the speed of Reyes at first. It's a 6-5 Houston lead. And now that running game becomes a big part of things.
Sure does. Fell behind, 3-1 count. Got to throw a strike in that situation, make him hit his way on. He did.
16 RBIs on the year for Reyes. Well, so here we go. Josh Donaldson at the plate. Can you get a ground ball and create a double play?
Well, that's what Gregerson's actually been pretty good at, is keeping that slider off the edges of the plate, keeping it down. Now would be an excellent time for a good slider down and away to get that ground ball.
Runner goes and the pitch fouled off. And got to find a way now to keep Reyes at first base.
Well, getting foul balls will put him right back there.
Of Josh Donaldson's 15 home runs this year, 12 have either tied the game or given the Blue Jays the lead. So if I put the whammy on Neshek,
yeah, do it to the Blue Jays offense.
Gregerson set. Reyes does not go. This one's lined to left field. Rasmus makes the play. And a key first out on a ball that was rammed on a line.
That ball was killed. And remember, Donaldson played with the A's for a while, was actually teammates with Gregerson, knows him quite well. That ball was annihilated.
Not an easy play in left field. That line drive right at you can fool you in both directions.
Left a vapor trail.
One out for Bautista. Bautista is 2 for 3 on the day with a walk, but those 2 hits both left the yard. Home runs number 10 and 11. Hot hitter at the plate. Runner goes. And timeout was called at home plate.
You can't. Did the umpire raise his hands after Gregerson was in motion?
You'll have to take it to the tape on this one. Let's see what we can find out.
I know that they usually scream it out, but you see Bautista gave it, and then the umpire gave it after Gregerson was coming home. I don't agree with that call.
I don't either. But it may have avoided a stolen base.
Wow. I'm shocked that Sam Holbrook gave that to the hitter.
Reyes back to first. Does not go. Big swing by Bautista, and he fouls it on the left side. 0-2 the count.
Yeah, there's no doubt about the fact that Jose Bautista is trying to drive Jose Reyes and himself in with one swing.
Both of the home runs for Bautista today, solo jobs. The 0-2. And Conger able to keep it in front. Jason Castro has done a great job throwing out would-be base stealers this year. Hank Conger has thrown out just 13%. 1 of 8 running against him. Is that something you guys would hear in team meetings? Which catcher has a better chance of throwing you out?
Yep. All those numbers are available, and you play against these guys often enough, you know exactly who could throw, who you're going to take your chances on. They give you all the times of every pitcher out there who might be a little more susceptible to the stolen base.
Reyes has a big lead and goes. The pitch inside, the throw down to second on a hop, and a great job by Altuve as he keeps it right there. If this ball kicks somehow into the outfield, the Blue Jays would have a man at third with just 1 out, and that man would represent the tying run.
Jose Reyes is 463rd stolen bases. Stolen base, I apologize, but yeah, that was a heck of a play on that in-between hop off the turf.
That's really tough. And you can't forget about him now. Altuve comes to the bag and points to it and lets Gregerson know, hey, you got to keep an eye on this guy.
But at the same time, you better make a good pitch to the guy at the plate.
That's right. Double duty assignment. Popped up on the infield. Altuve calling. And now VR takes over and drops it. VR hits second base. and drops the baseball. A.J. Hinch is going to come out and ask if possibly Reyes might have gotten in the way.
But I have never seen that. But I believe that if he's on the base, he has every right to stay there. He can't do anything about it. This is unbelievable. Because you can't expect the base runner to leave the base to allow the fielder to make the play on defense. What a unique set of circumstances.
Altuve had called, and then VR, who was on the left side of the bag, called him off. And when VR moved further toward the baseball, he tripped over the bag.
AJ's probably got himself a pretty good argument. He's getting these umpires to come together to talk about it. And I guarantee you, between these four guys out in the middle of the diamond, they've probably never seen this play.
There's a pop-up you could only beg for in that situation. Altuve calling, but here comes VR. And it wasn't so much the bag as it was Reyes. And like you say, Reyes has no reason to have to move. He's got to stay there.
No, that's his bag. He can. Well, if you ever play tag, you know that you have a safe spot, and that base is a safe spot for the base runner.
I'm not sure what the umpires are discussing right here, because
I know what they're discussing. They're going, have you ever seen that before in a major league game? And all of them said no.
Could very well be. I don't know where you could expect a base runner to go. A.J. Hinch is upset.
I'm sure A.J. might be asking, does Jose Reyes have to make an attempt to stay on the base and get out of the way of the fielder?
I've never seen it before.
If I can read lips, I think he's trying to say he needs to make a move.
He's got to make a move is what I saw there too. A.J. continues his argument with the umpires.
But I'm not sure what more you could ask from Jose Reyes, though, to get out of the way. That's a tough one.
You know, my understanding, and it's going to stand right now, 1 out, runners at first and second for Chris Colabello. But there's the guy that called it first. I don't think a base runner has to move. I think when he's on the bag, I think that's his. So now it gets tougher for Gregerson. And Chris Colabello, 0 for 3 on the day, is still looking to extend a hitting streak to 17 games. Wow. And that slider induces the swing and a miss.
Unreal.
Really is. Scorekeeper has not ruled anything, but the only thing I can see is E6.
You have to give it to him. He got a glove on it.
And now an 0-2 count on Chris Colabello. This is a save situation that is going to have to be earned.
There's no error on the board.
They haven't ruled a hit. You can't.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, they've ruled
this
a hit.
Is unbelievable.
Wow.
You know,
please.
That's 2 plays in this series where I'm not sure if it's the same scorekeeper, but good grief.
That's just plain wrong. I'm going to leave an E6 on my score sheet just for general principle. There goes Reyes. 2 runners going. The pitch in the dirt and a double steal. And now you don't have a shot at the double play. And now the tying run at third base, the winning run at second. That's number 9 for Reyes. For Jose Bautista, his 3rd in 4 tries. And now the infield has to come in. 1-2 the count. Hot shot back up the middle. 1 run scores. Here comes Bautista. He will score, and the Blue Jays win it in the 9th. A walk-off 2-run single by Chris Colabello as he extends a hitting streak to 17 games. But by far more important, the Astros have seen one get away here in Toronto as the Blue Jays sweep them. It's a big 3-run 9th inning for Toronto.
When you're going good, you get the breaks. When you're not going good, you don't get the breaks. That pop up in the middle of the diamond from Jose Bautista. A.J. Hinch still arguing the fact. Astros in shock.
Now this is really a tough one to lose. Blue Jays and their fans obviously very excited, but once this ball shot through following the double steal, you just have no chance. Bautista scoring that winning run, 7-6. The Toronto Blue Jays win it this afternoon and again sweep the Astros. And on the season, the Astros wind up taking 4 of 7. But this a crushing defeat this afternoon.